Ya, oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, selamat siang. Ya, because there is some friends from Tanzania, allow me to deliver this sharing session in English and Indonesia. Okay, we will mix. Okay, this is not a formal lecture. This just a sharing session because of our friend, especially Ali and Nuning, will perform some bioinformatic works for their thesis. So I'm not an expert, but I have a little experience in handling the bioinformatic data. So that's why the title is basic because it's very basic bioinformatics for biologists, and uh, I will assume that we are understand the basic of molecular biology. So I will not explain it later. Okay, this is the agenda. There will be two sessions. The first session will be the introduction of Linux for bioinformatics. We start with why we'll use Linux for bioinformatics, and then the basic command line, so you can operate the simple command in Linux, and how to handle text files in Linux. And then we move to before that we will have to install the software on our personal computer. Of course, we will guide you, and then we will enter the session number 2. We will learn about bioinformatics data, the basic bioinformatics data format. Okay, the first is sequence format, and then annotation format, and mapping format, and then the variant format. And as exercise, we will perform the whole genome sequencing using the real data on your own computer. So we will understand uh, the mechanism. Okay, and the basic things you need to know is the operating system of the computer. Now, this is the summary of uh, all operating system in computer. Here we most of us use Windows, which is derived from MS-DOS system, and then we will learn how to use uh, Linux system, which is different from the Windows. Okay, globally there are so many Linux distribution, but we will focus on Ubuntu because they have a great support system, and they are very stable compared to other. Uh, we we use Linux, not Chrome OS, because it's very hot topics right now, right? Because there are some uh, this is a comparison between Linux and Windows. Basically, the Linux is open source, so you are free to use, to modify, even to distribute it, and then free of cost. The performance is good, and then the software support is come from community, right? Not from company like Windows. The support is from company, so you have to pay. This is from community, academic community, and computer scientist community. And then they are very stable. Okay. Nah, in bioinformatics, this is the how we access the bioinformatic software. Basically, all bioinformatics software are written in some programming language and operating in Linux, basically, right? So, for example, the scientists from some university write the program using this programming language, and it's operated in Linux, basically. But there are some other interface, something like Genius or Mega. You can find this software and install on your computer. But basically, the core is in Linux. So they add some interface, uh, so you can use on your own computer. That's why sometimes you need to pay, because this is a company who make this. And then uh, there are some project named Galaxy. This is the community project to transform this bioinformatics software into the web server, so you can access to the web. And then there are some kind of software that from the start is developed using web-based software, so you can access through the website, official website. So, but basically they are come from Linux. Each kind of software has its own limitation. For example, the Genius, you pay, it's a great software, you can do anything, but it's limited by your own computer, right? Because for some tasks like assembly, like mapping, you need more resource, so your computer will not handle it. And then the interface itself is makes the core software not going optimally, because uh, we have to give some resource to interface, some resource to other thing. So the main process is limited by its own interface. And then with Galaxy, it's very great, but the limitation is you need internet access to move your big data. It's very costly, and then there are so many limitations using this Galaxy. But I think we still need this kind of software, because uh, basically the BLAS, they give the software to you. You can run in your computer, but database is huge. It wastes of time to install it in your computer. So we basically still use this kind of software, the internet-based software. And then we need to learn the file structure of Linux. Okay, this is the file structure. Before we jump into this, I have some. We cannot back. Okay, I have some great analogy. Okay, I went to other campus before I study in here. I went to ITB. There are a lot of different things between here and ITB. ITB is great. Is great. Here is great. Every department has its own class, has its own laboratory, has its own parking lot, so we can move effectively. But in my old campus, even my department didn't have their own class. We share class with other department on the campus. We don't even have our own lab. We share the lab with other because the the area is so small. Is in the heart of the city. So we can use this analogy to imagine the working system of Windows and Linux. Okay, in Windows, one software is stored in program files. It's already included its own library, its own supporting file to run the algorithm. But in Linux, when you install the software, you share the library needed with other software. Okay, that's why the package or software on Linux is so light, so small, because when we try to make the software, we focus on the algorithm, and then we use the existing libraries from the Linux system, and we share. And in the Windows, when you develop a software, you need to put your own library, to put your own supporting file. So that's why the system is a little bit complicated in Linux. Okay. Now, in Windows system, you usually find the file structure or folder structure like this. C is your drive, right? And then you put your files, you put your software in program files after installation. And then you work here in user, document, and your name. Okay. Nah, in Linux, the hierarchy is like this. This sign is called root, as in plants, root. Okay, this highest level of Linux hierarchy. And then when you install the software, you write your main program here, bin. It's called binary. Okay, and then you work on your file here, home, and then you spread another library on this folder based on their character. For example, you need to store your font files, you put it in library, something like that. Okay, so you only, when you work on Linux, it's typically you work on home directory. Okay, but you have to familiar with other uh, directory. Okay, any question? Or so the example of how library work is, font Times New Roman, Arial, something like that. Okay, the Microsoft Office and Microsoft Word need the library to tell the computer how is the Times New Roman looks like. Okay, it's called in font library. So in Windows, Microsoft Office have its own library in this program file, and then there's another software like Google Chrome or uh, Adobe Reader to read PDF also need this kind of library, but they have their own on their folder. But it will be different in Linux. Your word processor, your browser, your PDF reader have uh, only one file in shared library. For example, something like that. Okay, and then we move to terminal. Okay, terminal is the most important software in Linux because uh, we do all kind of stuff here. It's called terminal because it's let us human meets the machines, okay, meets the computer. So you can give the comment, you can see the result on here. So we need to understand how to work with terminal. So this is the structure of terminal. The first is username, okay, and then this is a computer name, and this is the directory you work. Okay, it means that I work using my username on my computer on this directory. Okay, this sign, you know, this sign is represent the home. Okay, this is symbol of home directory. So when you read something like this, you will know that you are in home directory and in exercise folder. Okay, and then we move forward. Now this is a symbol, it's dollar sign symbol to tell you what kind of user are you. Dollar sign means you are ordinary user, and then if it turn to what's name, cross sign, it means that you are super user. And it's very different. Okay, this we can call this part as environment. So you know where are you, you know who you are, and you know your status. And then we move. This is basically a command. This is basically a software you run. Okay, so to run the software on your Linux, you need to type the name of software. Okay, and then this is an option. You type software followed by option, and then followed by argument. Okay, and this is an argument. Okay, for example, this is command or program or software called ls. When you execute this, you need to type ls and you hit the enter. Enter means execute, and it will show you the list of files in the directory. And then you put another option, you also find the list of file in the directory, but in different mode because you put an option. And then you need to input parameter to operate something on your command. For example, this is cp. Cp means copy. Okay, you put argument here. This is file name. Okay, this is file name, and then this is also a file name. It means that you copy entire file 1 into the output file 4 txt. Yeah, basically all you have to do is something like this. All kind of software, all kind of program in Linux is for alignment, for quality control, for assembly, is run like this. Okay, and it's called standard output. Standard output, it's the things that you can see on terminal because you execute a program. It's called standard output. Okay, nah To operate the Linux system, you need to know some, not all, some of the basic commands. The first is PWD, PWD, okay? Sometimes it's simply abbreviation of the description of the program itself. Okay, you hit print working directory and it returns the directory of your possession. Yeah, it means that you are in your home, and then ls, it means list, display file and folder in the current directory. You want to know what file and folder in your home directory, and it's written something like this. It means that we have 1 2 3 4 5 folder, and then you want to move to one of the directory, you can write cd and put the argument exercise from this information. Okay, and then you already move in the exercise folder and you want to know what files and directory on this folder, you hit ls again. Okay, and they will return the list of file and directory. Okay, nah, there are some this is an absolute path. You write your path back to the root, home, and my username, but there are something called relative path. For example, you want to move into your parent directory, you can use this sign, double dot, and then you want to move to grandparent directory, you can move something like this. Okay, yeah, you need to practice to get yeah, you to get familiar with this command. Okay, this is basic command for navigation, and we will move to create or remove folder and files. So there are three main command. Make_dir stands from make directory. You if you want to make a folder, you use make_dir and you put the name of the folder. Okay, this is failed because the directory with this name is already exists. So you automatically add one after the name, and it return some error because when you put this argument and you separate it by white space, it creates two arguments. Because that's why never use white space when naming file or folder in Linux. It's better to use some character like underscore or dash, and never use white space because it will be interpreted as two arguments instead of one argument. Okay, and then you can remove the empty directory using rm command. But if the directory contains a file or folder, or it's not empty, you need to use rm remove using rf option. So you force to remove all kind of files and directory using this option. Okay. and then this is commands to copy and move file and folder. For example, you are on this folder exercise, and then you will copy the file 1 into another folder. Yeah, you can use the command and argument like this, and then if you want to move, it's basically same with copy, but something we can do about move is this is the only way to rename the file, right? You basically cannot rename the file in Linux, but you can use mv. You move the file into another file, so you use mv to rename the file. Okay. And then when we're working with bioinformatics, we need to quickly see the file, the bioinformatics file. So we need to know the basic command to see the file. This is less. The first is less. When you execute the less program and you put an argument which is the name of file, it will turn into another window, not same window but another loop. For example, like this. So using this, you can explore, you can scroll up, down, you can search, you can count the columns, and you can do something like when you use Notepad, except you can write it, you can only see. Okay, and then after this, you will not, you have to press escape to close the windows of less, and then we also have the cat, stand for concatenate. It will print the content of files into standard output. Yeah, you see it's different from less. If less, we see the file exclusively, and then we back to terminal. But using the cat, it will print out all the content of files into the standard output. Okay, and then we have, don't do cat if you have large file. It will be time consuming, so you display will trying to write at one time. So use cat only to small files. And then if you have a bigger files, you want to only check the head, you can use head. It will print only the first 10 lines. And then if you want to look at the end of files, because sometimes there are important information in the end of big file, you can use tail. Okay, this is for example. Okay, and then we move to grep. Basically, it search the argument that you type in the file. Okay, so using grep, I will search hydrogen words in file 2. So they return this. Okay, one row that contain hydrogen. Okay, so I try to grep to search alkali file, but this this do not return anything. You know why? Yes, because Linux is very case sensitive. Okay, uh, small a and capital A is very different character in Linux. Okay, so when you use your argument right, it will return something like this. Now, if you want to include the white space in your search, you need to put them in apostrophe. Okay, so it will search the whole character, including the white space. Okay, and this is the uh, some program named WC, stand for word count. It will return three 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 data. Okay, but if you want to know only the number of rows, you can put the option here -L. It will only return the number of lines. This I forgot. This should be the word count or character count and the file size. I forgot. But the first one is number of line. Okay, and then I this okay. Okay, now we will move to uh, Linux software installation. The software that we use before, something like CD, CP, LS, sort, that is they are basic software that is originally come from the Linux, but to perform bioinformatic analysis, you need to install additional software. Okay, like I said before, basically installing a software is put your files in here, 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 and here. Basically something like that. But in Linux, we have some limitation for user. So we need super user access to install the software, because when we are only ordinary user, we can only read or execute the file. So we need the super user or root to 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 access all folder on the file. There are two ways to become a super user. The first is using root su. We type command of su, and then we put some password, and we become the root super user. You see the sign is changed to super user, but it's very dangerous because basically you can delete everything here and make your system crash. So will not recommend this. The solution is to use sudo. Sudo is acting like super user. So we put sudo before you run the program, and it will give you permission to doing something. In Windows, it's like administrator, like right administrator. You can see run as administrator. Nah, here we call it sudo. Okay, and then nah, there are many ways to install the software in Linux, but here is the big four. The first is package manager, is something like Play Store or Google Play, but it's for Linux. Many software deposit there, but not all. And then we can use this command. Sudo means run as administrator. apt is the uh, package manager software. Update is the command. Okay. For example, you want to install BadTools, yeah, you need to type like this: apt get install BadTools. You want to remove, yeah, you do something like this. And then the second is source build. Nah, this type of software installation is complicated, but yeah, but it likely um, more updated because sometimes the one who built the software maybe it's late to send them to the package manager, but it's usually very updated. Okay, but mostly in every software they also give you the manual, the detailed instruction how to install the software on your computer. And then we have package pip. This is a package manager designed by Python developer. Okay. If your software built on Python, they usually put in pipe package manager. Same with Conda. Conda is also from Python, but it's very specific. You see the BioPython here, they contain many library for bioinformatics. So Conda is one of uh, the important. Okay, I think that's it. The very basic knowledge you need to know on Linux system. I hope now you yeah at least can imagine how to work with Linux system, and you need um, practice to get familiar with this Linux. Maybe any questions? Ada pertanyaan? Pusing? Mana yang pusing? Aman Pak Yuno?
Akun dari sudo gimana?
Nah, bikin akun. Kalau sudo tuh pakai username yang password yang biasa. Kalau sudo. Tapi kalau yang su itu mesti bikin password baru.
Misalnya nggak sengaja bikin 3 username nih, dihapus kedua. Itu harus sudo ya?
Sudo.
Yang hapusnya.
Tapi
pakai salah satu akunnya. Gitu.
Passwordnya yang ada sekarang di terminal itu username siapa? Pakai password yang itu aja. Nah, gak usah pakai password itu. Apa Nuning?
Saya Pak itu dalam 2 working dalam coding bisa jalan sama-sama atau kayak kita satu yang lainnya itu ikut ke yang satunya.
Bisa multiple.
Berbeda gitu, saya perintah satu di sini 2 apa dan 3 apa gitu.
Bisa, sangat bisa.
Gitu. Terus yang sudah tadi itu Pak, atau misalnya kita mau buka file kayak txt itu, bagaimana kan kita belum ada filenya ini Pak. Bagaimana buka filenya? Filenya saya punya raw data. Raw datanya ditaruh di mana untuk bisa buka itu di sistemnya Linux.
Oh, oke. Kalau di komputer Linux yang Linux beneran itu ya tinggal colok flash disk, terus ya kamu lari ke directory itu, copy ke directory home. Nanti ada directory flash disk itu ada di MNT kalau nggak salah. Gitu. Kalau nggak kamu copy pakai interface, pakai kayak Windows Explorer-nya ke directory home kamu gitu. Nanti kamu bisa akses. Nah, tapi kalau yang di WSL ini, Windows Subsystem Linux, ada di paling bawah di Windows Explorer. Kamu bisa hubungkan di situ. Gitu. Ada di Windows Explorer paling bawah ada logo ininya, logo penguin. Oke. Tapi kalau di sesi ini nanti saya akan kasih file. Oke. Gitu.
Jadi yang ada penguin itu folder, jadi apa misalnya yang kita mau kerjakan ditaruh di situ Pak untuk bisa membukanya di WSL.
Salah satunya seperti itu kalau di sini. Ali, oke? You have any question?
So basically, you don't need to have basic programming knowledge to run.
Okay, very good question. You need know any programming language skill to run this. Okay, all you need is this Linux is on the terminal. Actually, it's a programming language named Shell programming language. Yeah, what I told you before, for example, something like CP, and you put the argument here. It's a bash shell script name. But to do bioinformatics, you only need that. You don't need to master the Python, Perl, Java script, something like that. Yeah, you can learn another time, but yeah, you only need to familiar with shell language. Okay.
This Ubuntu or this software, what they really use is analysis.
Okay. Basically, it is an operating system. Ubuntu is an operating system. Okay. So you can put software in there, you can put data in there, and you can perform any analysis in there. Okay, in an operating system. Okay, so the use is unlimited as long as you have the software to run something. You install the software there, and you put the input data there. You can do anything as long as you have the software. But Ubuntu is something like home to make the software run. But in this WSL stands for Windows Subsystem Linux. So you put an operating system in an operating system. Okay. You put Linux system inside Windows. It's some like simulator, some kind of that. Yeah. Originally, when you install Linux, the whole laptop should be Linux. Okay. But in WSL, you can install Linux as a program. Basically, you simulate running Linux on the Windows. Okay.
What is definitely means for analyzing bioinformatics data.
Yeah, it's very suitable to perform bioinformatics data because most of university, most of scientists who write the bioinformatics software using Linux. Yeah, most of all, maybe 90% use Linux system. Okay. So you have to run it in Linux. You cannot run the software on Windows, on iOS. You have to run using Linux. Okay. Yeah. Now I need you to as an exercise. I need you to install Ubuntu, Windows Subsystem Linux on your computer, and then I will not give you the details. You can search on ChatGPT using this prompt. Okay, and then they give you the detail. If you find error, you copy the error message, you put it back to ChatGPT until it's done. Okay. Okay, I'll assume that we understand from this, and can we move to second part of the simple bioinformatic analysis, or we need time? Gimana Pak Yono? Langsung. Okay, at the end of this presentation, I will give you the workbook so we can learn directly. Okay. Now we move to bioinformatic data format. Okay. We will only learn the basic format. The first is sequence data. How we store the sequence information in the computer. Okay. Most of bioinformaticians use FASTA file. It is basically a text file, ordinary text file. You can write your own on Notepad, put sequence, and there it is, FASTA. But you need to follow the strict rules of the format. Okay, the format is something like this. Is what call this sign in English? Bigger than, or bigger than. Yeah, okay. This is the mark of the FASTA file. Okay. Every FASTA file should have this on the first line. Okay, and then followed by identifier. Okay. You can put anything in here as long as it's informative. And you need to know that you have to careful using white space here. Now, the white space here is a barrier between the identifier and the description. So this is the description, this is the identifier. Okay. You can put multiple sequences in one FASTA file. For example, this is one sequence. You can put something exactly like this on below of this sequence, but the identifier should be unique. You can put the same identifier on the second or the other sequences. Okay. So this is FASTA format. You can use for any kind of nucleotide sequence. And then we will move to FASTQ. Okay, FASTQ, yeah, to make it easy is FASTA with quality. Okay, FASTQ. It's different from FASTA because FASTA is general. We use for everything. Every file from primer to chromosome use FASTA files to store the sequence. But FASTQ mostly used by the sequencer. You know, for example, you have Illumina sequence, you have even Sanger sequencing, you have PacBio, you have Oxford Nanopore. It produce the FASTQ. What makes it different is they have the quality for each nucleotide. So this letter is represent the quality of this base. This letter is for this base. This score is hexadecimal. You know, hexadecimal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so it represents the quality of this sequence. And then the symbol of identifier, we use this symbol. We use @ symbol. And then the identifier mostly tells us about the sequencing machine. Okay, if we use Illumina, they usually give us information about what kind of sequencing machine, what kind of library preparation. Nah, that's sequencing machine language. Okay, so that's how we use the sequence file. Yes. Yes.
Is it used for cleaning, data cleaning
for screening of? You mean
for data cleaning, for checking the quality of the data?
Yeah. Okay. Very good question. This is for general, both clean, not clean. We use this FASTQ. Okay. So the quality score itself, it's that's this number is used to decide the sequence is clean or not, or we need to trim the sequence from here to here because this is low quality. That's why we keep the quality data. And then even after the sequence is clean, okay, from both sides is already trimmed, you don't want to throw the quality data because it will be used for alignment or assembly. Okay, when you perform the assembly, they will also use the quality as to scoring, whether this assembly is make sense or not. If they are not sure with the sequence, they see the score of the sequence. Okay, that's why we keep the quality data on FASTQ file. Okay, next we will see the annotation. Okay, the annotation is the information of anything that lay along the sequence. Okay, so imagine the sequence is a coordinate. Now you put that coordinate in this annotation file. For example, we have chromosome number 1. We store the sequence in FASTA file because it already chromosome, right? Use the sequence FASTA file, and we will mark the region on the FASTA. We can put on the FASTA file. We create separate file, and then that's why the first column should be exactly matched with the identifier on the FASTA file. Okay, and then this is coordinate, start, stop, and we can put whatever on this column. Okay, you can put maybe this SSR marker, for example. Yeah, when you want to store the information, I found the polymorphic SSR marker on chromosome 1, and then which coordinate. Nah, you store, do not, bioinformatics do not store the information on Microsoft Excel, but they do store information on this file. Basically text file. You can open it in Notepad or something like that. Okay, this is the bed file. You can use for anything, for marker, SSR, but there are some more generalized format called GFF. Okay, genome feature format. It's same with bed. We need the name of the first column, which is the chromosome name, exactly match with the identifier on the FASTA file. But in this file, it is more organized, especially in genome annotation. Okay, for example, we have this chromosome. We store the sequence on other file called FASTA. Okay, so we only have the coordinates. So we put the annotation something like this: gene, mRNA, and then CDS. Visually, maybe on Genius, we look something like this. But how it's actually stored in the file is like this, using GFF3 format. Okay, and then you can see they have the strict structure. When you have mRNA, they should have the parent of gene, and this already connected. Okay, it's very useful if you have the annotated sequence, and you want to, for example, you have the marker here on coordinate. You can check whether the marker is on exon or intron, on the promoter, something like that. That's why it's very useful. And then next is we will not do the mapping today. We will focus on assembly. Okay, but we will let you know about other format, is mapping format. Mapping means you align the short reads into the different chromosome to find the polymorphism. Okay, so that's they store the mapping information. I actually never see the same, but I use a lot of same file, but I never see inside because the SAM is very big. It's up to 20 giga. Okay. And then there is BAM, it's binary version of SAM. Okay. It's basically the same with SAM, the same with SAM. Okay. Okay, and we move to this one of the most important, VCF, variant calling format. What we store in this file is the polymorphism, the variation from SNP, insertion, deletion, structural variation, and then we also store the genotypes of many samples. For example, for rice, we have chromosome number 1 on rice. On the first base, we have variation, which is in reference. There is ACG base, but there are alternative. Some sample have the A, it means the deletion, because ACG become A, it means you need to delete to base pair, and then the other is AT. And then the quality is good, so they pass the filter. And then the detail of every sample is something like this, the genotype. 0 means the sample 2 is homozygote and same with the reference. 1, 2, it means that it's heterozygote. The first allele is A, the second allele is AT, something like that. That is the very efficient way to store the variation in the genome population wide. Okay, this is the VCF.
Okay, another question.
Yes.
Example, the case of homozygous. Is it possible to identify which one is the homozygous dominant and which one is homozygous recessive?
We cannot tell that. Okay, we store the information on sequence manner, right? Okay.
If you go back on the quality,
Okay.
the nucleotide, from the letters, which one is telling you this is a good quality, and from this letter this is a fair, or maybe this is not good?
Okay, data. You quality, you mean on the sequence, right?
Yeah, we
Move
are talking about quality of the nucleotide.
the sequence
Yeah,
on the
back is right. The previous is right.
Yeah, I will try to.
The previous, not this one.
Yeah, I know, but I have trouble to go back to the previous
Okay.
because I'm recording. You see,
Okay, we can go on.
Okay. Yeah, basically, you talk about the FASTQ file. No.
Somewhere where Basil asked a question on there's a letter that is the information telling you quality. Yeah, the quality of the nucleotide.
Okay.
Right? So from there was like EFFCCCC.
Okay.
So which letter is telling you that this nucleotide is
Okay.
of high quality?
Okay.
This is maybe fair, and this is low
Okay.
quality.
Yeah, I get it. So the quality is we start the quality using the PHRED scale. Yeah, it's bioinformatic terms. It's from 1 to 30. Yeah, I forgot how to calculate this, but basically it's an exponential scale, because maybe if 1 is I don't know. One is there are how many percent errors, and 10 is how many percent errors. Yeah, we have formula for that. But the scale is from 1 to 30. But we cannot store the 1, 2, 3. We can store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 9. If the quality score is 10, we cannot store it because it will be 1 and 0, right? Because quality is 11, we cannot tell, but because it's 1 and 1. Okay, we need one character. That's why they use hexadecimal character. It's A B C D E F G until Z, and then you put number. It's 20. Hexadecimal will be 27 plus 10 is 37 character available to represent 30. Okay, so after we map this, you want to know which part of nucleotide have low quality and good quality. Now that's why we always perform the quality control on the raw files. Okay, after the file is come from the sequencer, we perform quality control. Usually we trim because the lower quality is always on the flank region, on the edge. 5 edge and 3 edge is always low. It's the nature of the sequencing machine. Okay, basically we trim the sequence and we also remove the adapter. Okay, adapter sequence is conserve. We know it adapter from the sequence. Okay, after that we evaluate the quality of whole sequence. If it's good, we can keep it. If it's too bad, we discard.
It does not involve resolution. It's only probability of the new project.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, we can move forward. Nah, in this afternoon, we will perform genome assembly. Okay, basically we have the reads from Oxford Nanopore. It will be long reads, and we have reads, and then we will produce contigs. Okay, so we will assembly the reads using software named Flye, called Flye. I don't know what to say. FLYE, Flye. Okay, we cannot move to this because it needs another data and then another experiment. So we will perform alignment using the Linux skills that you already have today. Okay. Now this is the workflow for today. I will give you the FASTQ raw reads, and you perform the statistical analysis of the FASTQ, and you produce the TXT file that tells the basic information of FASTQ, such as number of sequences, average length, something like that. And then you perform QC using FASTP, and then you produce clean reads after QC. And you check the statistic again, and you run with Flye until you produce the contigs, and then you evaluate the contigs using the same tools, and then you evaluate all the 3 statistics to tell that the reads already assembled or not. Okay, to do that Yeah, I give you the handout, and you can follow the rest. Okay? Maybe that's the presentation session. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.